Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today I show you how to combine a photo like this with a stunning AI generated background like this one. And by the end of the video, you know how to create something magical like this. This workflow is perfect if you are a portrait photographer, especially for maternity shoots or fantasy themes in general. And we are gonna start using a simple method using Evoto AI, and I show you how to take things further in Photoshop for even more control. So let's dive in. We are going to use a few tools today. The first is some inspiration, and we are going to see where to find it. We are going to use MidJourney and ChatGPT to bring our vision to life, and then finally we are going to see how to composite everything together. First, we are going to see with Evoto AI, which is a super user-friendly, but is also at some limitation that you will see later on the video. The second is Photoshop. This will give you full control. So let's get started. The first question you will ask is why not just buy a background? Sure, there are plenty of resources online, but by using MidJourney, you are not locked into someone else's style or mood. You are in full creative control, and I promise, it's easier than it sounds. Let's see how it works. Before we get into editing, let's talk about inspiration, because every creative project needs a spark. For me, that often starts with visuals. Pinterest, Instagram are great platforms for that. And honestly, music plays a big role too. The right track can shift how I feel instantly, helping me picture the whole scene in mind. For our inspiration, we have different tools. The first one is Pinterest, and you just can go to the website. And for example, now in this case, I search for photo studio background roses, and this gives me a bunch of different options to choose from. For example, this is actually the mode that I was searching. And if you go in, you will get even more inspiration. So it's really up to you to choose what fits you the best. One thing you can do is actually to download the image. Let's call it roses background. And one way is to go to another website, which is image2prompt.com, and you just can take this just downloaded photo, fit it into the website, and what it will do is generate a prompt from the image that you gave it, and you will get different prompts. Just copy one of these prompts. I will say the first one. It's copied, and then you go to MidJourney, you paste it. Be sure that you are, for example, in portrait. If you want portrait mode, version 7 is the latest one. And yes, and let's keep it like this and just send to MidJourney. And this, of course, it will try to create something with the prompt that you get from image to prompt. It won't be perfect, but it's also nice because you will get different mood, different inspiration that you can use it for other projects. For example, now it's almost finished. This is really cool, actually. Imagine you have a model sitting here, you can integrate this. It's just wonderful. Maybe not, maybe this one. This is also cool. This is amazing. So you will get different results, maybe not what you wanted. The other option is actually to use MidJourney. What you can also do is to go directly to MidJourney and explore what the other people did. For example, for the image I show you before, the image we are going to create, I wrote photo studio background and roses. And you will see you get a bunch of images, and there we go. I was just scrolling, and then I found the image that was matching my idea, or more or less what I wanted to have. So here you can just open the photo and you will have the prompt, which actually was what created this image. So I'm gonna copy this one copy prompt, and then I go to ChatGPT and I'm going to ask to do some modification. What I'm gonna do now is to take the prompt that I just copied from MidJourney and ask ChatGPT to do some modification. So here I'm gonna say, please modify this MidJourney prompt, adding warm light, romantic mood, and cinematic lighting. And then I pasted the original prompt. And then I hit OK, send, and then it's doing his magic. Now I have my prompt adjusted, and I'm gonna copy this one, go back to MidJourney, and paste on the. I would say here there's a mistake. I'm gonna use it version 7, and I'm gonna hit submit. Now it's gonna, of course, cook some. Well, I did a mistake actually, because now it's in landscape mode. I don't want landscape mode. I wanted to have a ratio in portrait mode. So delete this one and boom. But anyway, you can see it's pretty amazing what they did. I mean, actually also this in landscape mode are really, really cool, which I could use. Anyway, it, you know, you will get different results. You have to work a little bit with it. This, for example, has the windows on the back. I don't want to have this, but somehow I managed to, fairly easy, to come up with this one, which was the final image that I wanted to have. So the next thing you want to do when you are happy with your image is to click upscale, and I will click subtone. So okay, it doesn't do any modification to the image basically. So you click this, you wait that it's working a little bit now, and okay, now you have your upscaled image. So it's a bigger resolution, you see. You can say, okay, I want to save this image, save image, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Now you have your image. Now, the next thing you want to do is to do some modification on this image, because like this, you will have some trouble. So now, after you download the image, we need to do some adjustment to make it usable, okay? And you will see now in the next chapter what I mean by that. The first thing we're going to do is to see what is possible in Evoto AI and what's not possible. I already selected my image here in Lightroom. The easiest way is just to hit edit and edit in Evoto. And now we have our photo imported. Okay, and there we go. So, okay, what Evoto allows you is to change the background altogether, and you can find this option here. Just hit this button here and you will have your option. Okay, what you want to do is first is to open this window, to hit backdrop changer, and here you have some option. You will see I have already some backgrounds that I want to use. I'm gonna use this one, and boom, right away you see it did a pretty good job. The only problem, which is a big downside at the moment, is that I can just move the background horizontally, vertically, I can scale it, whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. But I cannot move my subject, okay? So the thing is like, I cannot place my subject where I want to be. And I just can move the background. And this is a little bit a big downside for me, because I'm forced to, for example, you know, I don't want to crop this part. I would like to keep the whole image and up my subject, but I cannot do that in Evoto. So I need either to scale it and, you know, move it, but now I have my old background and then I have to scale it again. And so you will have some big compromise, okay? But let's say we are happy like this, just for the sake of the tutorial. First of all, as you can see, if I hit the soft shadow here, you will see a little bit. Well, you can see better with the hard shadow, but I don't want this. And it's also important to know that if I do any changes on the direction of the shadows in hard mode, when I hit soft, it will reset everything. So you need to decide ahead which kind of shadow you want. And I want to have a soft shadow. Let's increase the opacity, maybe the blurriness, I don't know, whatever. So now, as you can see, the shadow is completely off. The light is coming from this direction. You will see also the shadows on the floor. So I need the shadows to match this light, okay? So it's quite hidden. It took me a while to figure out where it is, but you have to hit this pencil, and now you have control over your shadow. And you will see you have the angle here. Actually, you have also some handles here. You can move it and trying to match. Let's see, something like this. We are happy and we hit OK. We have a shadow blur, okay, to make it more realistic. We have a gradient which makes, you see, gradually disappear the shadows, which is actually more realistic. And this is it. The problem, as you probably already figure out, I have the original shadow from the background and I cannot get rid of it. So already this creates me a big problem. So I would say Evoto AI, it's cool. There's a lot of potential here, but I think they have to work more with offering tools like, for example, repositioning the subject, leaving intact the background, and also allowing you to remove pre-existing shadows. Let's see a more efficient way of working and that delivers a more professional look. The first thing you want to do is to upscale your AI generated background. Why? Because MidJourney output a fairly small image and it won't match the dimension of your photos. For example, I shoot with a Sony a7R5 with like 61 megapixels, so they are huge images. And if I want to deliver to a client a high quality photo, I need to upscale the background, not reduce the size of my subject. So to do that, we are going to use Topaz AI and we just select our photo. In this case, it's this one. Okay. I'm going to say open and I'm going to choose upscale. And then here I can choose scale percentage. So I'm going to go 4x and you see I have a much bigger image. I will go to high fidelity, which is my favorite option. And then I'm gonna hit export. Okay, I'm gonna give a name, roses, whatever, and I'm gonna export to the original folder. Okay, first thing what we want to do is to choose our subject. I have this photo with my friend Kate. It's a simple setup, just one light coming from her left, which is also important to remind because we have to match this with our generated background. How to isolate the subject? It's super easy in Photoshop nowadays, and it's just a matter of one click most of the time. So I'm gonna hit select subject. I'm gonna wait. Something I highly recommend is to process your image on the cloud. This gives you much better results. Anyway, now you see it did a pretty good job, but we have also the softbox. Okay, this is simple, easy task to do. We are gonna remove this selection lasso tool, activate the subtract to the subject, to the selection, and just draw it just like this. Now we have our subject, we just did the mask, and that's it. And you have your subject. And now I can import the new upscale. Okay, you see here there's like an upscale background. I can import in Photoshop And now you will see it's quite big image, which is absolutely amazing. Now, what I want to do is to just take my subject. I'm going to do select the layer, Control C, Control V, and you will see another problem now. The problem is the colors are shifting now. The problem with that is because the color profile of the images, okay? MidJourney has 8-bit color profile. If you check, okay, 8-bit, while my Sony has 16-bit. How do we do that then? Okay, let's delete this one, and we are gonna convert our profile. Okay, so I'm gonna choose for Pro Photo RGB, which is the one I always use, and I say okay, convert. Boom. Now, if I copy paste, you will see that I have exactly what I wanted. Okay, so now I have my model with the original colors and resolution and my background. And you see they're already matching quite good. Now it's only about to position your subject. Let's say I want to put it here. Okay, and what we are going to do now, it's the first thing I want to do is to try to create a shadow here. Okay, so the easiest way to do this is just to select your subject and double click on the layer, and you will have the layer size. What I always do is hitting the drop shadow, increase the opacity at maximum, and put all the other value at 0 and hit OK. And here you will not see pretty much anything because now the shadow is under the subject. So what we're going to do now is to create a layer from layer style. Okay, you hit OK. Now you will see you have your shadow. Now the easiest way to place your shadow is actually to hit Command T or Control T, transform, and move in distort. Okay, what I want to do is now try to match my lighting. Okay, so as you can see now I can move my shadow, and I'm gonna try to match as much as I can, and there you go. Let's say that we are happy like this. Now it's obviously it's too strong. What we want to do is to blur, and usually what I do is to go to blur gallery and fields blur, and what allows you to do is to create a control blur for, let's say, from a beginning to an end. Okay, and for example, normally in real life the shadow will be more blur going far away from your subject. So let's say I'm gonna blur a little bit more here, and then I can also move this one and increase the blur. Okay, let's do it like this. We are gonna take also look at the other shadows. For example, this is way too blur, I think, compared to the shadows of the background. So we are gonna maybe something like that. Okay, and we hit high quality and okay. Now we have our blur shadow, but it's still too strong. What I'm gonna do now is to decrease the opacity. And again, what I'm trying to do is to match the other shadows. And I would say it's fairly okay like this. But we have a problem. There is an existing shadow from our image. So how do we get rid of this? So what I would do is to hide my subject, or well, I can actually decrease the opacity just to see what I'm doing. And I'm gonna take the background, always do a safety copy. And now I'm gonna use my removal tool to remove the shadow. Okay, let's see how it works. Sometimes it works great, sometimes not. and it doesn't. Okay, you will see sometime it's just not working. Okay, so let's try again. Yeah, we are getting there, and you might have to repeat the process. Okay, you see now we are getting there slowly. Okay, I can remove, for example, I can also remove this. I don't want to have, whatever. You see, it's always a little bit tricky. The other thing you can do is to, for example, there's kind of a little bit dirt here. In this case, it's super easy. I can just create a new layer and take clone stamp tool. Be sure that you are in current and below, and sample. Of course, you want to have a smooth transition, uh, and you can just create, try to erase these little imperfections by hand. Okay, something like this, whatever. Okay, boom. What I also want to delete is this one. Maybe I increase the hardness a little bit. Yes, and I can just paint over. I don't want to add this, maybe, whatever. Okay, and it looks a little bit messy sometimes, for example, you have a little bit of patches and stuff like this. Okay, so I would say the other thing you can do is just to paint over with a white. In this case, it's quite easy. So I'm gonna paint over, and now I got rid of the shadows. Okay, now if I increase again my subject and I bring my own shadow, you will see now it's much better. One thing that I also like to do is to enhance a little bit the shadows under my subject. So what you can do is just to take a black brush. You can reduce the opacity here and also the flow, and you try to paint a little bit of shadow under your subject. You can go a little bit overboard with this, it doesn't matter, because what I'm gonna do now is to, for example, okay, blur everything. Cushion blur, you get blur, cushion blur, and you will increase the radius. Okay, you will see it's already matching much better. Okay, we hit OK, and now we can also control a little bit the opacity of our layer. Okay, what we did now, well, I don't like, actually, you can actually mask if you don't like something. For example, you can say I want to remove this part of the shadows, and you can blend a little bit more. You say, okay, I'm gonna maybe a little bit too much, slowly painting away, and that's it. Okay, maybe a tick also here, also on the other shadow I can remove. Okay, now what we want to do again is to group this, is to join the shadows together and mask, and I'm gonna create a gradient mask so that it's again fits a little, not round, a little bit like this, so it, the fall off of the shadow is more realistic, and you can play with this, you see. And there you go, you have your own shadow. Of course, you can refine much better. You can spend a lot of time doing this. Again, you can select opacity. What you can also do is, again, to create, to give overall, again, a little bit of blur to everything, to to melt the two shadows a little bit better. Yeah, it's up to you. I mean, you can decide. And there you go. You have your own created shadow. It's not perfect. I didn't spend so much time, but it's just for you to see what is possible in Photoshop. The other thing I like to do is, of course, try to match the light of the background with my subject, or well, the other way around. I want to adjust my subject to make it that is inside this environment. And you see the tones are a little bit different. It's more yellowish. This is more candid, white, and everything more bright, I would say. So what I usually do is using a filter on the neural filters you can open, and we are going to check harmonization. It's still in beta, but it's working really good. And we are going to select a layer as a reference image, which is my background. So now let's wait for the result. It's processing everything. And now you see it's much better because actually it's more white, so it matches more the vibe of the background. Of course, I can tweak. Maybe it's a little bit too strong. I can refine. I can say, okay, I want a little bit less impact. Maybe I also a little bit less of brightness because otherwise it looks a little bit like a ghost. But let's say we are happy like this, okay? Now, of course, you can go ahead with your editing. I'm gonna show you what I did with my photo. So usually what I do in this case, for example, I would like to have some God rays coming from the window to make it more magical. So I'm gonna use it overlays or brushes. In this case, I have this God rays overlay and I can bring it into my photos. But we are gonna take a look at the result and I will guide you step by step. As you can see, if I'm gonna show you what I did. So let's go back. I will hide all the edits. So you see, I have my background. I remove the shadow here. Now I'm gonna add my shadow. I'm gonna add an extra shadow under the subject. That's my subject, which is matching the lighting of my environment. So what I also did, because here you have a strong light coming in, so I want to emphasize a little bit the lights on this side. So I painted some highlights on the dress. This you can easily do. You just have to create the 50% gray layer. So you can say new layer and you say you need to put it in overlay mode, sorry. And now you say fill with neutral color, boom. And now if I do a clipping mask, it will hit only my subject. And now if I take a brush, you see I can highlight my subject where I want. You can do easier, a little bit like this. You can actually paint also with colors if you want, but that's not what we want to do. Let's say a crazy green just to show you. See, now everything it's highlighted with a green tone. But this is cool because you can match actually better the background if you need. But like this, I would say it's fine. It's a little bit of highlight, you see, before and after. And the next is just adding this overlay, like A's, this rays coming in and hitting the subject. And the next is just about color grading, a little bit of yellow tint. And then at the last, I just create a little bit of A's on top and I just, you can actually, maybe it's a little bit too much. And there you go. You have your image, which you can deliver to your client, and she will be super happy because she did a shooting on a forest and now she's in a dreamy place that you will never be able to find anywhere in the world. That's it. And there you have it. If you found this helpful, give it a like, maybe hit that subscribe button, and feel free to drop a comment if you have any question, or if there's something else you'd love me to cover next. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and as always, frame the moment, chase the story. Bye!